Hey guys, my name is Ben, and today's a very exciting day. I'm gonna talk about what I think about elementals, how good they are, how to counter them, all that sort of stuff. I'm gonna rate the new heroes, and we're gonna talk about how the new MMR system is going to work. So everything that you need to know will be in this video. I'll try to keep it as short as possible, but there's so much to cover that, well, I'll try to go over it quickly, but still in depth. So we better get started. First of all, they didn't nerf Genders and Pogos. Genders Pogos are still going to be in the game, sadly, but they did add a couple things that might counter Genders Pogos better in the future. I still think Genders is going to be top tier. They didn't really do anything about that, but yeah, let's go over it. 4 new heroes. First of all, Ragnaros the Fire Lord. After you kill 20 enemy minions, you get Sulfuras. So what Sulfuras does is it's a passive that gives your left and rightmost minion +4/+4. Meaning as soon as you kill 20 enemy minions, you're gonna get +8/+8 free stats every turn on units that you can target. So left side, maybe it's a cleave, right side, maybe a Divine Shield Taunt. How good is it? When does the hero power come online? 20 minions, I did some math, I think it's usually gonna be around turn 6 or 7, so 8 or 9 gold, maybe earlier, depending on if you face someone with a lot of tokens. Like if you get this online on turn 5, for example, it's gonna be super good. 7 gold and getting +8/+8 or 8 gold. It is pretty good. +8/+8 for free every turn is not a bad hero power. It's just an issue that what if you have a weak opener and you don't kill anything? What if you face Yogg? What if it comes online in like turn 7 or 8? Is that too late? Can you still stabilize? I think yes. I think this hero is pretty decent. I don't think it's gonna be top tier because his hero power doesn't scale you late game. But I think his hero is definitely at least tier 2. He's gonna be playable, he's gonna be decent, but not the best. And then Shenvala is after you play 3 elementals, reduce the cost of Bob's Tavern by 2. I think that's pretty bad. If you compare it to Bartendotron has a reduced Tavern for 1 gold, like permanently, you don't have to do anything about it, and he's still really bad in this meta. There was a time where he's good, but compared to the new heroes, it's just bad. This hero power doesn't translate into tempo. You don't really care about reducing your tavern. You have to play 3 elementals for it. So you have to find 3 elementals, and this only matters early game. Like, reducing taverns is the best early game because then you can actually translate your leveling early into power spikes. It's so hard, I think, to get 3 elementals. Maybe there's going to be some synergy. Maybe elementals early game are super good. But even then, I don't see a big benefit to upgrading your tavern by 2 because it's still really awkward at reducing it by 2. If it's by 3, then you could buy another unit in the same turn, but with 2, it doesn't even give you much of an upside. So I would say this hero is pretty bad. And Rakanishu is a 2 mana hero power. Give a random friendly minion stats equal to your tavern tier. So on tier 1 you get 2 mana +1/+1, it's pretty bad. Usually you don't use it on tier 1 and 2. I think turn 3 is the first time you could use it, because on 8 gold you just leveled up. You have enough gold to buy 2 units and hero power if your shop is decent enough. And then 2 gold for +3/+3 is pretty decent. Only issue is that once again, it's a random unit. You can't target it, so it could hit bad units that you will have to keep on the board then. If you compare to Ragnaros, for example, it's, let's say you end on tier 5 for the rest of the game. 2 gold for +5/+5 is not that bad, it's pretty decent. Even though it's random. But Ragnaros gets free for 0 gold as a passive +8/+8 stats that you can target. So compared to Ragnaros, this is a pretty bad hero. This hero might be better on 8 gold, but 9 gold Ragnaros is gonna have his hero power online, I think. And just gonna out-tempo this guy by a lot. So I think he might be playable, but he's gonna be tier 3 or something like that. Last but not least, I like here the Windlord. Passive, at start of combat, give your leftmost minion Wind Fury, Divine Shield, and Taunt. This hero is hard because early game, it's kind of like Lich King. You're gonna win your early fight just because you buy a unit like everyone else, but yours get Wind Fury, Divine Shield, and Taunt. And Divine Shield is obviously the most useful. I don't think you care too much about Wind Fury, except for cleaves. If you think about this hero with a cleave in first, it's pretty insane, right? It's 2 cleaves for the price of 1 with a shield. Also, if you think about a poison unit, giving a poison unit Divine Shield and Wind Fury. So I think this hero is very flexible and very good, but it doesn't give you immediate tempo or direction. So even if you hit really bad units early game, you're gonna be strong for a bit, but if people find the brands and you just don't, you don't find the triples, you don't find the good units, you're gonna be screwed. No matter what your board is, Divine Shield Windfree Taunt is not gonna help you when someone is able to outscale you or outstat you. So meanwhile, while Ragnaros gets +8/+8, you might just get Windfree Divine Shield and Taunt, which is just doesn't compare. You could compare Zero Power to, for example, the Demon Hunter, where your left and your right most minion attack first. It's good with Macaw, and you can double cleave your opponents, and it also sounds so good, but in reality it's not good because it doesn't give you any tempo or additional tools. Now this gives you a little bit more tempo, so I have hope for Alakir. I think he's gonna be playable, it's gonna be very interesting to see his hero power work, but I think he's not gonna be top tier just compared to the other heroes and the current meta that we're in. So I feel like he is gonna be tier 2, bottom tier 2, maybe tier 3. He's gonna be playable. I might be wrong, maybe he's better than he seems, but I just don't think it's big enough of a deal. And then finally the new units. This is gonna be the most interesting part. So elementals, I already scrolled through them, I already made up my mind kind of. So let's look at it together and then I'm gonna give my thoughts. So a 1-star 2/2 is generally not that good, it's like deck swabby. But when you sell this, add a 2/2 elemental into your hand. So it's actually a better deck swabby. It's 1-star 2/2 unit that gives you 1 gold essentially, right? Because if you sell it, you get the 2/2 back in your hand and you can play it. So deck swabby reduces the tavern by 1, essentially giving you 1 gold, but this unit just gives you 1 gold that you can use to buy another unit or do whatever the hell you want. Also, the fact that you sell this and you get another elemental in hand is going to have synergy with cards that we see in the future and with Shanvala, because Shanvala is the name, right? Yep. Because you're going to play another elemental, and then if you find one of these, you already have 2 out of 3 elementals played. So it's a very interesting unit. I kind of like it. It is slow on turn 1, but it has a lot of interesting ways that you can use this 1 gold and this extra elemental. Then we have the Refreshing Anomaly, 1-star, 1/3. Battlecry, your next refresh costs 0. I think this is really bad. You don't really care about a refresh for 0 gold. On turn 1, you don't care about a free reset, right? So you buy a 1/3, which is not that good. On turn 3, if you would buy it, you don't care either. Like, you're never gonna buy this on tier 3 or tier 4 just for the refresh that costs 0. You don't want to spend 3 gold for a free refresh, that just seems bad. So I think this is like a filler card. I don't think it's gonna see too much play. I guess it's interesting sometimes, but I don't think it's gonna be good. The Party Elemental, this is one I'm really hyped for. This is what I think is gonna start pushing elementals early game. After you play an elemental, give another random friendly elemental +1/+1. So this is your scaling for elementals early. So whenever you play an elemental, look, this, do you see the synergy now with this card? It's gonna give a random one +1/+1, but you don't really care if it's random or not because it's an elemental, so you know what you're gonna get kinda. And if you have 2 of these already, they're on tier 2, let's remember. So if you have 2 of these, every elemental you play, you get +2/+2 for free. And we're gonna see elementals that buff each other. So if you get a golden party elemental early, you can just start scaling your board with elementals. The only issue right now is that elementals start with very low base cost. So you don't just want to buy an elemental for tempo. Most units you just want to buy to get strong early, to have the stats on board and the tempo and win fights. These elementals are bad statted, so you don't just want to buy an elemental because you're going to lose a lot of fights and you're going to die. So I kind of have to set up for this, and you kind of need a good shop to make it work. But I have a lot of hope. This seems good. You want to get this golden, obviously. Then Molten Rock, also tier 2 elemental. It is taunt, and after you play an elemental, gain +1 health. Don't like it too much. Like a 2 mana 2/3 is pretty bad. You don't really care about plus health that much whenever you play an elemental. It does have synergy with party elemental, I guess. And then the health on this keeps growing whenever you play elementals, but it's okay. It's just very slow again. You don't want to pick up a 2/3 on tier 2. And then we go to tier 3. Stasis Elemental, Battlecry, add another random elemental to Bob's Tavern and freeze it. Which I think is actually really good. Why? Because we're in a meta right now. It's probably going to change, of course, but where pairs are so important and finding triples. This unit can get you free triples so easily. It even freezes the unit for you in the shop, and it's a 3-star 4/4. It's not horrible. If you compare it to, for example, Hanger Dragon. Hanger Dragon has potential to grow. Hanger Dragon is not that good of a unit. but this gives you another elemental. Could give you either a Molten Rock, another Stasis, Party Elemental, or a shitty 1-star. But even if it gives you this, it's not that bad. So I think it's a pretty decent unit that's gonna give you a lot of value. If you triple it, you get so much elementals in your stuff. And the way elementals work is, well, you already see it here, but you're gonna see it in with more expensive cards as well. The more elementals you play on board, the more your board gets buffed, basically. So having this unit is really good because it allows you to get more elementals in your shop. You could even throw in a Bren, I think, in like elemental builds because of the Stasis elemental. And maybe units that we're gonna see in the future, such as the Arcane Assistant. Battlecry give you other elementals +1/+1. Pretty basic. I think it's a good card, right? It's like a Leaper, but or like an Falcon Navigator. It's just worse stats. It's a 3/2 instead of a 4/4, which makes it a lot worse than Falcon. But I think it's a little bit better because it's an elemental on its own. And so far we've seen that a lot of cards have synergy when you play an elemental. So even though it has -1, -2 stats, it might make up for that if you have an party elemental, because then it might give those stats to different units. So it's not that bad. I think it's decent. It's just a shitty 3-star in the pool that you don't want to discover. And then we have the Crackling Cyclone, 3-star 4/1, Divine Shield, Windfury. Kind of comparable to, let's say, Bronze Warden, right? It just doesn't have Reborn. Only issue is that this gets wrecked harder by tokens if there's 2 1/1s that can kill this, right? But it can deal 8 damage as well, so it can also kill an 8/8. So it kills 2 1/1s or an 8/8. Not bad. Same as Bronze Warden. Bronze Warden can just kill 4 1/1s or an 8/8. But it's an elemental with a Divine Shield. I think it's the only elemental with a Divine Shield, meaning it's going to be valued pretty high in an elemental build because you want to get stats on your Divine Shield unit. And if it gets upgraded, it gets Mega Windfury, which I don't think you value it that much, but it's decent, sure. One thing that we're going to see though is that elementals, if you are doing anything else, if you're doing beasts, dragons, mechs, whatever, if you triple into an elemental or roll an elemental, it's going to be pretty bad to pick up. You don't just want to pick up this in a random build, or this, or this, or this. So elementals, you either go for it 100% or they're bad. And I think we can compare this to pirates, right? If you triple into a captain or into a salty looter or whatever, you very often don't want to take it because it just doesn't fit your build. While with mechs, you don't mind throwing in an egg, it's an 8/8. You don't mind throwing in a Savannah Highmane, it's a lot of stats. A Dire Horn. So far, elementals don't have stats, they just require a lot of synergy, which has pros and cons. So at the end of all the cards, I'm gonna conclude what I think of the elemental build as a game plan. Whirlwind Tempest, we go to tier 4. Your minions have, with Windfury, have Mega Windfury. Why would you want Mega Windfury? Let's think about it. Why would you want Mega Windfury on a unit? What's the upside, right? A cleave with Mega Windfury, sure, but there's no cleaves with Windfury. I think Whirlwind Tempest is gonna be a bad card. I think it's gonna only see play with Alakir. Let's say Alakir, you give your leftmost minion Windfury and Divine Shield. Let's say you have a big cleave. What does that mean? That means that your cleave has Mega Windfury. Besides that, I don't really see a use for Mega Windfury. Like if you look at Zap, Golden Zap is not much better than normal Zap. You don't really care about the Mega Windfury. You only care about the stats on the Zap, so it can kill stuff. So I don't think a 6/6 on tier 4 is gonna be that good. You're not gonna see this in elemental builds, I assume. Next up, we have a 4-star Wildfire Elemental. After this attacks and kills a minion, deal excess damage to a random adjacent minion. So we have Herald, which is a 5 attack unit with 6 HP. If that overkills, it deals 3 damage to leftmost minion, right? And it can chain itself. This is 7 attack and it deals excess damage to a minion. So if you hit this early, it's gonna pop off, right? It's gonna deal excess damage to an adjacent minion. It's gonna kill 2 minions for the price of 1 most of the time. But it has 3 HP, so it can get sniped by anything, by a bomb, by whatever. So it's kind of rough, but if this gets buffed, this fits nicely into a build for sure. If this gets buffed, it's better than Herald, because Herald doesn't scale. It always deals 3 damage, or if you triple it, it deals 6 damage. Well, this thing, if you get it to like 40 attack, for example, in your elemental build, if this attacks and it overkills by 20, it just kills 2 units for free. It's basically half a cleave. If you triple it, it becomes a cleave. So it's kind of a cleave for elementals, but also not really. I think it's gonna be okay. I don't think it's gonna be insane though. Deadly Spore. Okay, this is a really interesting unit. They added one new neutral, which is a 1/1 poisonous on tier 4. So it's like a Maxna on tier 4 instead of 6, but it doesn't have a tag. Maxna can scale with beasts, like with Goldrin, Mama Bear, you can taunt it, buff it. This thing, you can't interact with it, unless you give it taunt and now it's scavengers, but this is gonna be a tech card late game, I think, to counter the pogos and big stats. So this is a way that you can counteract genders with pogos or just someone that's insanely big. Just buy 2 Deadly Spores, get Selfless Baron or Selfless Macaw, and try to cheese a win. I don't know if I like it that much. It's a tier 4 unit. Toxfin is also tier 4. Why would you not just put a Murlocan and a Toxfin? I guess if Murlocs are out, this is the only way you could find poison on tier 4. Maybe that's why, to make it more consistent against pogos, but it's a weird unit. You don't want to buy this early, you buy this late game in a very specific scenario, so sure, I don't hate it being in the game. But I also think it might be toxic, as in, yeah, people might just get a bunch of Deadly Spores and just cheese a win that way. Now we got Major Domo Executors. At the end of your turn, give your leftmost minion +1/+1 for each elemental you played this turn. Seems pretty bad. It's basically a worse 2-star unit. I forgot what its name was. The party elemental, I think, right? For the party elemental, every elemental you play, you get +1/+1 on a random unit. Here, for every elemental you play, you get +1/+1 on your leftmost unit. It's exactly the same as the party elemental. Only difference is that all the buffs come on the leftmost unit. So let's say you have a big cleave, then I guess you want all your buffs to land on the cleave or your leftmost minion or a deflectable. So this could fit into Menagerie, I guess, if you play Menagerie and put a Major Domo in and then just farm some buffs. But it's not even that good. +1/+1 for every elemental. Let's say you buy 3 elementals in that turn. +3/+3, and you have to keep a 6/3 on the board. It has no tag, it doesn't scale. I think this card is really bad. I don't understand why it's a legendary. Yeah, okay, whatever. Finally, tier 5. I think this is the most hyped card I've seen. Nomi Kitchen Nightmare. After you play an elemental, elementals in Bob's Tavern have +1/+1 for the rest of the game. So whenever you play an elemental, instead of giving +1/+1 to your leftmost unit, every elemental in Bob's Tavern will have +1/+1 for the rest of the game. I'm not 100% sure how it works, but according to what I read here, if you play 5 elementals, for example, in a turn, every elemental in Bob's shop is gonna have +5/+5 for the rest of the game. So if the next turn you play 5 more elementals, they're gonna be +10/+10. Meaning, you just have a board of elementals, you play more elementals to buff your elementals up, and eventually you can replace the weakest units with just big elementals from your shop. So I think Nomi, if you triple into it early and you have an elemental board, it's gonna be pretty decent, yeah. I can see it now. And now the 1-star makes a lot of sense. Now this turns into a really good unit mid and late game as well, because it's basically 2 gold, or even 1 gold for 2 elementals. So the value is pretty sick. So Nomi, I think it's going to be really interesting. I'm not 100% sure how strong it is, but I think it's going to be one of the key cards in order to scale late game with elementals. And then we have Lil Rag, which is a 5-star 4/4 as well. People like 5-star 4/4s apparently. After you play an elemental, give a random friendly minion stats equal to elemental's tavern tier. So, after you play an elemental, give a friendly minion stats equal to the elemental's tavern tier. Meaning if you play a 3-star elemental, it gets +3/+3. Do you want to play a 5-mana 4/4 to maybe get +3/+3 on an elemental? I don't think this card is good at all, right? Oh wait, give a friendly minion stats. Oh wait, I read it wrong. So if you play a 3-star elemental, it's going to give +3/+3 to a random unit. So let's say you have a board full of elementals and you just start chaining elementals to buff your board up. You're gonna get plus stats from this as well. So I think the elemental package is just you play elementals and all the stats are gonna combine and buff each other on the board. it's gonna be interesting to see it work. It's so hard to imagine how much you get from this compared to a brand, for example. It's interesting for sure. Because let's say we have a brand, a 5-star unit. We play a buff, +2/+2, it's gonna give +4/+4 to something instead. So you get +2/+2 stats, right? This you can play any elemental and you could get +3/+3 or +4/+4 even, depending on what tavern tier. For free, I mean not for free, but for every elemental, so you don't just have to roll for specific buffs. And it could buff any friendly minions, so it can even buff cleaves or divine shield units or whatever. So this could fit into non-elemental builds as well. Maybe it could be a more flexible brand, who knows. Actually, it might be better than it seems, so I'll definitely try this out as a replacement for brand and see what happens. Tavern Tempest. Battlecry, add another random elemental to your hand. I mean, it's a 5-star, it's pretty basic. It's like the 3-star 4/4 that adds one in the shop, but instead you get one in your hand. It's pretty decent, right? If you have a brand, or it gives you more elementals again. For that chaining effect, so it's an okay card, I guess. You don't want to triple into it though, for sure, but Lieutenant Gar, taunt after you play an elemental, gain +1 health. So this is a tier 6 elemental. You get +1 health for every elemental you have. So let's say we play an 8-mana 1/1. If I play another elemental, I have 5 elementals on the board, it gets +5 health. That's pretty bad. Now, if you look at the total package again, you're gonna spam elementals on the board. It might have like 50 HP. It's still gonna have 8 attack. I guess it's gonna get buffs eventually from your board, but it's gonna be a high health, low attack unit, or relatively low attack unit. I don't think that's that good. It's like an DIY battle monster that you have to build up, right? I don't think this is tier 6 worthy. I would put this tier 5 or something, so I think this would feel bad to triple into. But we'll see. Maybe it's gonna grow out of control, you know? Because it does get a lot of HP. Yeah. Gentle Jin, the other 6-star elemental and the last elemental in the list. Taunt, Death Rattle, summon another random elemental and add a copy of it to your hand. So again, a very low tempo 6-star unit. It's just a 6/8, and as a Death Rattle, it adds a copy to your hand. Let's compare this to Peggle. Peggle is a 5-star unit that on overkill or just on kill now gives you a unit in your hand. This dies and gives you an elemental in your hand. I guess elementals are more specific to the elemental build and could, you know, help you, could summon another Jin. But Peggle can give you any unit, and it can attack multiple times sometimes in a game, give you multiple units. So I think this unit is pretty bad. If you triple into this, you're gonna feel pretty bad. Unless you're elementals, but you don't just want one elemental a turn and have a 6/8 on the board. I guess you could buff it, but yeah, I'm not too overwhelmed. So anyway, let's do a recap over elementals, then I'm gonna go over the MMR system. Elemental, every unit so far that I've seen is low tempo. So if you have no elementals on the board, you don't just want to buy elementals, you don't just want to pick it up. I don't know if you will be able to transition into it. I have to play the game first and have to play elementals in order to know how easy it is to transition into it or out of it, or how exactly it's gonna work. But so far it seems like pirates, meaning you're either pirates or you're not. Like if you hit the early pirates on their own are pretty bad. You barely pick up pirates for tempo. But if you hit the double captain and the hogger and the double salt looter, and like if you hit the nuts, if you hit all the perfect units, you can get top 4 with pirates. And I feel like elementals are a bit better than pirates because they scale more. Pirates have way less tools to scale. They have passive buffs, not static. Like they buff each other. As soon as you take one pirate out, your build collapses. Well, elementals buff way more, they scale way more, but you need to go full elementals. You need to hit all the good units that help you scale. You need the Nomi, maybe the Rag. You'll need the Majordomo, I'm not sure, but you'll need I think the 2-stars are really important, the party elementals. So it'll have to be elementals from the early game and just like keep buffing up that board and finding elementals. So if you don't roll the good elementals, you're kind of screwed. That's what I'm trying to come at. Also, there's only one unit with Divine Shield, so you're gonna get wrecked by mechs, by Divine Shields. You're gonna get wrecked by poison really hard. I don't see a single way that you can beat poison with this. So Amalgadon, I guess Amalgadon is also an elemental. You could play it yourself, but I don't think they're good though. They have a lot of tools to scale. I think it's the tribe with the most cards that help you scale. Because there's so many cards that I saw that give you plus stats for every elemental that you play, and there's so many cards that I saw that give you elementals as Death Rattle, as Battlecry. So as soon as you get them going, I think you pop off really hard. And I've been thinking a little bit, and maybe it fits in a Menagerie. I think mainly Lil Rag, because you can just play Menagerie, or you can just play Menagerie and pick up elementals for free buffs with Lil Rag. And that's about it. And maybe with Major Domo for elementals, you get +1/+1. Not super good, but whatever. Maybe you fit a Wildfire Elementalist in your Menagerie as an elemental. So I could kind of see some sort of Menagerie with this. Having the additional scaling from elementals added to your board, but yeah, I think it's going to be a pretty hit or miss composition. Now, that's enough about the new cards. That was 25 minutes. Let's go quickly over the MMR changes. So what happened is you still have your hidden MMR. That's not going to change. So you're still going to keep your same MMR in the background, but the visual MMR is going to be reset. They're going to use a similar system to what is in normal Hearthstone, so in constructed ranked mode. So everyone's going to get reset to 0, and for top 4s you get MMR up to 300 a win. They're also going to work with floors, so if you hit a certain rank, you won't be able to drop below it anymore, making climbing easier for new players, and it might go up. Build rating will never go below 0. You can't go negative until they climbed above 2000. So if you're 2000 MMR, you can finally start dropping ranks again. But below 2000, apparently all you can do is climb. Now, I think these are the most important things. Between 2000 and 6000 rating, every 500 rating is going to be the floor where you can't drop below. So basically like Diamond, or I don't know if it works with Diamond. I don't play Constructed, but I know that you can't drop out of certain ranks. So that's going to be every 500 rating between 2000 and 6000. Below 6500 players will earn a small bonus for their rating gains at the end of each match, which will in turn make for a faster climb, and rating losses will remain consistent. Very interesting. Now, matchmaking is of course still based on the internal rating, which I talked about, so meaning if you were a really high rank before, it's going to be easier for you to climb back up. So don't worry, if you wear 10k, you'll have an easier time climbing back up to high ranks compared to people who barely played the game and are 5k. So I think those are the most important things. Mainly, it doesn't really affect most people. If you're high ranked, you're still going to end up in high ranks. But I think this is more for the casual player. They'll be able to rank up easier because there's rank floors now. You can't drop below 2000 MMR. I mean, you can't lose games or MMR below 2000, I think. And there's a new visual. It's apparently going to look pretty epic. We have no visuals on what the ranks are going to look like. I don't know if it's still going to be MMR. Probably not. But I'm hyped. So I think that's all I had to say. If there's anything I forgot, I'll leave it in the description or probably comment it underneath this video. If you enjoyed it, be sure to subscribe. I'm gonna come up with way more videos. Usually I edit my videos more, but I wanted to get this out as fast as possible for you guys. Try to be as complete as possible. It's one of my longer videos, but I hope that was informational enough, and I hope this gives you enough to climb when the reset hits. I'll be live tomorrow for sure, so come check it out. I'm gonna try and hit as high of a rank, hopefully leaderboards, as early as possible. So hopefully see you on Twitch. I'll see you around. Be sure to like the video, all that sort of stuff, and I'll catch you in the next one. Have a good day, guys.